Yo guys, what's going on? This is Steven here with the video once again, back at you. I want to do this video for a while, but kind of put it on the back burner. It's just going to be a quick and dirty version of this. It's basically a Wii controller comparison, pros and cons. So let's get to it. Okay, the Wiimote, the traditional Wiimote. This has the Motion Plus built in, and it has the accessible sync button through the plastic. So this is the latest version of it. This controller is unique because it's used for specifically motion controlled games or games that only use a Wiimote or a couple buttons, and this works perfectly. NES games through the Virtual Console, it almost is perfect like an NES, but this D-pad's so small that it starts to tear up your thumb after a while. And if you're playing Mario Brothers or Mega Man and you're using, going left to right, and it starts to tear up your thumb, not very comfortable. This gap here is kind of annoying when you're holding the controller like an NES, because it just feels like this one has a good grip and this one has a semi grip on the controller there. But other than that, it's a good controller. It can't be used for everything, but for what it is used for, it usually works pretty well. And these buttons are a little small. I got all these black controllers, so I can't see all the details through this cheap camera, but basically, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It will get the job done. Mario is playable, Mega Man's playable, but long sessions, this D-pad is so small, it'll start to tear your thumb up. So then we have the next one, which is a variation of the classic controller, which this is the classic Pro controller. What they did here was they added nice grips so that when you hold on to the controller, you have nice grips instead of just holding kind of resting on your fingers. And then they moved these two buttons that were in the middle here, which was terrible. They moved them back here like a true L2 and R2. I love this controller. This is probably one of my favorite controllers. You get your initial grip is like this, and you never really have to change your grip. You have access to all the face buttons very comfortably. The stick buttons, analog sticks, they don't push in, so that might matter. And I'd say Y and A are too far apart. These are spread too far apart. Why they did that, I don't know. But other than that, D-pad's bigger, so it doesn't tear up your thumb like the Wiimote. Not a big fan of the octagonal gate for the stick here. I know it was kind of like a Smash Brothers thing, so that you could hit the right grooves, but I never liked that personally. That's just me though. And of course, the other thing is you have to plug this into a Wii controller, otherwise it won't work. So besides that, this is probably my favorite controller for the Wii, specifically for Virtual Console games. This is, if you don't want to use the gamepad, this is probably one of the best controllers you can get. I don't know if they're still making these, but I would definitely try to get one of these for sure. This is one of my favorite controllers. Then we have the Wii U Pro controller, which everyone says is the best thing ever. Nintendo's best controller. Wow. Okay. I wanted to tell you the things I like about it first, just so you don't think that I'm, trying to hate on this controller. I really like 80 hours off a single charge. That's phenomenal. That's amazing. Built-in battery, no bulging in the back where the battery is. It's just, it's got all the buttons necessary to play almost every game you can imagine. Okay? This is the closest competition to the Xbox One and PS4 controller that Nintendo can get. It's basically got everything. Now, the sticks don't have the octagon gate, so I like that. And yeah, it works for all the Wii U games plus the Virtual Console games. Now, here's a couple of my main gripes with this controller that makes this one probably my least favorite. So, the triggers are very, very cheap and they sound terrible. They sound very terrible. Even L and R are fine. I mean, they're fine. But ZR and ZL, they feel really cheap. They sound cheap. Terrible. The face buttons are too small, and they're in the worst possible spot ever. This is my biggest gripe. So your initial grip, you grab the controller like how it's designed to fit your fingers back here, right? So you grip onto it. This is how you hold it. Well, on this side, it doesn't make sense because now your thumb on your left side is perfect because you got easy access to the stick and the D-pad, no problem, right? You don't have to change your grip. Now for your right hand, your thumb is resting like right over the stick, and the only thing you can reach easily is X and A. X and A. Okay? Let me try to turn around here so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. X and A. But Y and B is too much stress on the thumb if you try to keep your original grip. So if you adjust your grip, yeah, you can reach, so you adjust your grip here, you move instead of keeping your grip like this, you kind of ease off, and now you can reach Y and B pretty easily. That, for me, is just a deal breaker. I tried playing some SNES games, the Virtual Console, and reaching for Y and B, oh my gosh, it's terrible. Terrible. And then that ruined it for me. I mean, other games, if ZR is the gas for a racing game, you're not going to reach down and press B. It's totally uncomfortable. Too much stress on your thumb to reach down to B. So these two buttons are basically useless a lot of the times because why would a developer put a button action here or here when if he's holding the controller and he moves his thumb down, he's like, nah, this is too much stress on my thumb. It's not intuitive. So I feel like Nintendo even knows this because a lot of the games that use Y and B, you can alternate to use X and A. So it's kind of like they knew, oh, we screwed that one up because they're too far to reach and uncomfortable. Let's just use X and A. So what a big mistake to move the face buttons here and the right stick up here. It's totally unnecessary, very uncomfortable, and for me, basically ruins the controller. Okay, I can't stand that. I mean, I got an Xbox 360 controller here. The buttons up here make so much more sense. You're resting your thumb on the buttons, so you don't have to move your thumb around too much. And the stick, you're going left and right. You're not pressing a button all the way down here. You're just moving left, flicking it to the side, usually just for a camera. So, what a big, big mistake on Nintendo's part. It's such a shame because this controller could have been perfect, but that alone, these face buttons here, ruins it. Just totally ruins everything. So the last one, of course, is the main controller for the Wii U is the gamepad, which I actually have no problem with. Besides, my biggest gripe is the battery life, which can be alleviated if you buy the high-capacity battery. But other than that, it's a little heavy, but all the face buttons, like your thumb just rests right in the middle of all the face buttons. So you have to reach for the stick, but that's okay because the stick's always like a temporary thing. You're never constantly moving the stick unless you're playing a first-person shooter. So, this works for everything. Virtual Console games, Wii U games. It's just it's very comfortable to hold. Your fingers are on these triggers here. L and R are easy to reach. When you grip, your initial grip is like this, basically. And so from there, I can reach all the buttons comfortably. I'm not reaching down here, you know. So I can hold Y and jump in a Mario game, and it feels great. So that's just my 2 cents on these controllers here. Um, every time I see somebody praise this controller, it drives me nuts because for me that's such a big flaw. These face buttons being down here. It's the D-pad. It's funny because the D-pad is not a big deal. You know, it's not a big deal. It's easy to reach. Now, I noticed that, like, ever since I was a kid, like if I was gonna throw a football with this hand, this part of my hand doesn't open up as much as my left hand does here. My left hand opens up a lot. So like to palm a basketball or grip a football and have it rest in between here was easier, even though I'm right-handed. Where on this hand it's smaller. Now I don't know if that's what's causing my issue, but I think honestly, for anyone who grips this controller, like the initial grip factor that you would do when you grab it, you know, it just to reach for Y and B is just doesn't make sense because I always want the buttons right in the middle of my thumb. I don't want the edge of my thumb hitting buttons. It's not comfortable. And in reaching over, you know, to press these buttons, it just drives me crazy. Now, I'm curious if anyone else has the same issue with this controller. Is it too much stress to have, like, basically try playing Mega Man X on this controller. It's tough. You might as well just use the gamepad. But you know the reason why I wanted this to be good was because 80-hour battery life. Come on, you can't beat that. And when you don't feel like having the gamepad out or it's charging, you can switch to this and everything's fine. But I don't know, that's a big, huge fault for me. So anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about these particular controllers for the Wii U. Which one is your favorite if you've tried them all? Which one do you try to go to the most? And particularly, do you have an issue with this controller? The same issue I have, where it's too much stress on the thumb to move your thumb here to press these buttons. It drives me crazy. So anyway, guys, that's it for now. Until next time, peace out.